minutes we got left before we chat. Grab your coffee, find your seat. Cowbells are ringing, that's our cue. Gonna share our thoughts with you. Laugh and gossip, spit in tea. Little secrets between you and me. Countdown ticking, let's get real. Heart to heart, it's how we feel. Girl talks in 8 minutes time. Ring that bell, let's feel the rhyme. Share our dreams and tell our fears. Girl talks, wiping all those tears. Snap a pic of what we wear. Brush our hair, let down our care. Conversations never lie in this moment with you and I. Clock is ticking, here we go. Words like rivers start to flow. Tune your ears and hear the beat. Girl talks makes our time so sweet. Girl talks in 8 minutes time. Ring that bell, let's feel the rhyme. Share our dreams and tell our fears. Girl talks, wiping all our tears. Clock is ticking, here we go. Words like rivers start to flow. Tune your ears and hear the beat. Girl talks makes our time so sweet. Girl talks in 8 minutes time. Ring that bell, let's feel the rhyme. Share our dreams and tell our fears. Girl talks, wiping all our tears.
Morning, y'all. It's 5 minutes and 30 seconds before Girl Talk starts, so you have just enough time to grab yourself a cup of coffee and get in a comfy seat. We'll see you soon.
Catch Girl Talks every day. Follow socials, here's the way.
GURLTAUX, every platform come to play. Catch our vibe, don't delay.
Facebook, YouTube streams. Scrolling through your daily memes.
Girl Talk Show, don't miss out. Join the fun, see what Girl Talks is all about.
Keeping it real, it's what we do. So tune in now and join our crew. Lights moving through the screen. Click subscribe, don't be mean. Upbeat chatter, it's our routine.
Girl Talk Show, don't miss out. Join the fun, see what Girl Talks is all about.
GURLTAUX is who we are. Come hang with us on your tablet, phone, or screen. Anywhere Girl Talks can be seen. Girl Talk Show, don't miss out. Join the fun, see what Girl Talks is all about. Update stories, laugh and cry. It's Girl Talks, so don't question why. It's the show that you'll adore. Come back daily to get some more. Girl Talk Show, don't miss out. Join the fun, see what Girl Talks is all about. GURLTAUX is who we are. Come hang with us on your tablet, phone, or screen. Anywhere Girl Talks can be seen. Girl Talk Show, don't miss out. Join the fun, see what Girl Talks is all about. GURLTAUX, log in now, watch our show. Likes and comments, let them flow. Every day we're on our way. Girl Talk Show, it's Talks is all about.
Walking down this road tonight, talking about the things we fight. Addiction knocking at my door. E&T wants so much more. We walk the walk and talk the talk, right here on Girl Talk, on the path where we belong. Standing strong through the storm, together we'll move along. Searching for a brighter day, holding tight along the way. Sobriety's a steep climb, D&T winning every time. Oh yeah, we walk the walk and talk the talk, right here on Girl Talk, on the path where we belong. Standing strong through the storm, D&T bringing all of you along. Oh yeah, we walk the walk and talk the talk, right here on Girl Talk, on the path where we belong. Standing strong through the storm, D&T bringing all of you along. Oh yeah, we walk the walk, they talk the talk, right here on Girl Talk, on the path where we belong. Standing strong through the storm, D&T bringing all of you along. Oh yeah, we walk the walk and talk the talk, right here on Girl Talk, on the path where we belong. Standing strong through the storm, D&T bringing all of you along.
Mute yourself.
No.
Okay, let me check what's going on, because I don't know what's going on here.
What you messed me up on.
Yeah,
You, yep. See, you just
Yeah.
never, you're like, oh, she's good. She's at home. She never wants to see us again.
yeah, something like that. Oh, because your mic is muted.
Well, there you go. That up. See, ta-da.
Ta-da. Well, I looked at the other parts of the button, but I didn't look at the red part of the button.
See, that helps. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's turn the red part on.
Monday.
Oh, it's Monday. Oh my gosh. It's such a Monday. So how are you doing? How was your weekend?
Okay. Slowly.
yeah.
Moving. It's
Well-
cold. Well, it's warmer than it was. Oh, it's warmer than it was.
Yeah, it's warmer. I mean, we were happy to I was happy to see the snow
Yeah.
because I am from Lake Tahoe.
Yeah.
And so I was glad to see the snow. But I think I went out maybe once outside cuz
I didn't even do that.
Yeah,
You're brave.
I don't want to walk in it. I don't want to play in it. I'm way beyond that in my life cycle.
Right?
Like
Yeah.
I with my physical limitations now, I have zero ability to ski anymore.
Yeah.
Would I like to ski? Yes. I love skiing,
Absolutely
but
not.
I don't think I could recover from a fall.
Right.
You know, I'm at the point now where if I do too much, like yesterday, I'm on my walker by the end of the night yesterday. You know, so
Skiing
my
would do
legs
that
start
for me.
getting
Yeah.
giving out on me. If I get down on the ground, I have to crawl to a couch, a chair, something to help me get up.
Yep.
So if I fall down on a ski, I'm just going to stay there.
The last time I went skiing, I was in middle school. I fell off the chairlift. I got frostbite and I ran into a tree. I have not. That was the universe thing, dude. That's not for you.
All I
Stay
can
away.
say
and I
is
took it. I took that lesson.
That was definitely the universe telling you do not do this. Like, this was not made for Christy.
Thank you for that lesson. I'm like, no.
It's like, well, thank you for playing, but
Go away.
your card has been revoked. We do not want you here. Go away.
Yep.
All the above.
Yeah.
You're not welcome here, so
Yeah.
go away.
I'm amazed I didn't die. Like chairlift entry. Like my brother and I spoke on the phone on Saturday maybe, and he was like, "Oh, did you hear about our cousin?" And I was like, "No, I don't talk to our family." And he's like, "Well, he ran into a chair and he like shattered every bone in his face." Like, and I'm like, "Oh, so there are really bad things that happen." I don't see, you know. So like, okay, so this could have been a lot. Like falling out of a chairlift alone should, you know.
Well, I did have years and years ago. I had a brain bleed from skiing. I was skiing with my son, and I'm a good skier. Well, I shouldn't say I'm a good skier. I used to be a good skier, and like I could do the jumps and the whole thing.
Wow,
like I was
fancy.
I was a really
Yeah.
good skier. So when I would go ski but I mean, I used to, when I was a kid, I skied from my house down to the bus stop for the school bus. Our school bus had ski racks on the side of the bus to take
boy.
us to school when I was young.
Yeah.
So I pretty much learned how to ski before I could walk.
Right.
Like, my dad did not ski though.
Right.
Ever. My dad was a race car driver. He said, if there's no engine and no brake, I'm not getting on it.
Right.
So he was a snowmobiling fool.
Yeah.
In the winters, he would do snowmobile races, and he had some badass snowmobiles too.
Yeah.
Funny story about the snowmobiles. Remind me, I'll tell you that story. That one's
Yeah.
pretty interesting. But so I skied all the time, and my mom would actually come to school and sign us out for a dentist appointment or a doctor's appointment, and I'd be all pissed off, upset, like, I don't want to go to the dentist. Shut up, get in the car, we're going
Right.
skiing.
Right. Like to stop.
Yes, okay.
Yep.
So I mean, I grew up skiing, and then that bug went into my boys too, and like Sammy, my youngest that's in the Marine Corps now, he was a ski instructor for 12 years.
Yeah.
He taught freestyle skiing, like where you do all the tricks. And that's a funny story how he started skiing, because one day he snowboarded, and one day, I don't remember what it was, but we were on our way home from the ski place, and he was making fun of me for being a skier, because he's a snowboarder.
Yes, there's
You're
a
just a
difference
skier.
if you yeah.
You're a lame old
You know,
duck
yeah,
skier, you know. I mean, only
absolutely.
old people ski.
Right.
And I was like, oh, okay. I'll see how that is. So we went to go ski again, because we skied all the time, especially in the winter. And he yells from from the garage area where he's loading up shit. Mom, where in the hell is my snowboard? I can't find my snowboard. I'm like, oh, I don't know. Guess you should keep better track of it. Guess you can't go. And he's like, no, I want to go. And I'm like, well, you don't have a snowboard. He's like, what do you mean I don't have a snowboard? I said, your snowboard's at somebody else's house with your helmet and your boots. You want to go? You're going to ski.
Uh-oh.
You want to make fun of me?
Yeah.
You're going to ski.
Yeah.
So you can use some of my skis and boots. And at first he was like, well, I don't know how to ski. I'm like, well, you want to make fun of me? You can figure it out. So I took him with us, and where we skied all the time was free because we volunteered there. It was an organization. Sky Tavern's what it's called. But as a child, you can learn how to ski, and you have to volunteer there. So you can volunteer as helping with the food, cafeteria, whatever.
Bless you.
So I volunteered as a ski instructor, and then that's how my son got started, because he started teaching at 12. And so I signed him up for a ski class with one of the people I knew really well, and he pulled him from the class and said, I'm going to put him in the advanced class because he's been snowboarding for so many years. I'm going to fast track him in this advanced class. And he's like, it takes like 3 days and they earn an advanced skier. And I was like, okay. So by the end of the day, he comes up to me and he's like, I'm putting him in our freestyle class.
Cool.
And I was like, what? And he goes, he's good. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't have to I gave him a few tips and he got it
took
in
off?
like
Aw.
no problem. But he never went back to snowboarding.
Aw.
He loved skiing. He found out that his making fun of me for
Yeah.
something he didn't know and didn't understand. And this is a good lesson to all of us.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes, and I tell people that all the time when it comes to people making fun or saying things about other people. So often the rudeness, hurt feelings, snide comments, jokes, glib stuff comes from a no understanding.
Right.
Comes from you make fun of or you hurt people you don't understand.
Yeah.
People that make fun of people with disabilities, economic statuses.
Yeah.
Most of that comes from lack of understanding
Yeah.
and coping mechanisms for their own issues that they have, whatever. And, so there's that. But I've skied my whole entire life. I love skiing, but I know that has to be a thing in my past. I have stories from it, some
Right.
great stories,
Right.
but no matter how much I miss it, I can't go and try to do it.
Right.
And I have skis and stuff that I probably at this point need to
Let go of.
let go of.
Maybe you can give them to your nieces or your grandkids.
Yeah.
And share those stories and and like.
Well,
get them
nobody
excited
wants
about-
old skis.
Yeah.
Skiers don't like old skis.
Maybe they could be super cool decorations.
Yeah, I might do that or something.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants old ass ski. I mean, mine are really good skis, but I
Right.
think they're over 10 years old now.
Like,
Because
they're not cool enough to be vintage yet. You
Yeah.
gotta give it a couple more years.
Yeah. Well,
It's crazy what's considered vintage now. But yeah.
like
But, yeah.
I probably have a pair of vintage
Yeah.
ones. I have some of the, I don't know if I still have them anymore, but I had some of the ones that were completely straight
Yeah.
before they figured
Yeah.
out that they could do this other design to make them flow better on the mountain and all that stuff. But it's definitely a thing of my past.
Yeah.
And something that my mom and I were talking about this the other night, being very nostalgic about it because my mom had some of the coolest ski outfits. And but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed skiing.
Yeah.
I loved going with it was a connection with
People and
people,
yourself and
my kids.
Yeah.
So it was definitely something that I will always miss having.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's get our show started because it's not about skiing.
It is about grieving.
It
and
is
that
about
something
grieving, and
that
that's a
you are-
loss, and that's
Yeah,
a
that
loss.
is a loss.
So anyway, my name is Tori, and I'm your host of Girl Talks, and that's GURLTAUX, and it does not stand for toe. Today we are talking about grief,
Yeah.
and we are talking about the California fires and loss, and how we're coping with that, how we're dealing with that. It has a personal effect on me, because I am a California native, born and raised, and I lived other places in my life, but California is and will always be my home. So we're going to start with God's eye. He called a little child to him and placed the child among them, and he said, "I truly tell you, unless you change and become like the little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Therefore, whoever takes the lowly position of this child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven." Matthew 18, 2-4 NIV version. It's human nature to want to be the best. We often jockey for positions of power and authority. It was no different with the disciples. These were Jesus' closest friends who seemingly were already in a rather powerful position. One day they asked Jesus who would be the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. His unlikely response gives us a glimpse into how he views success. Jesus reminds us that it is not about our earthly accomplishments or achievements that make us great in the kingdom of heaven, but our ability to put our faith in him. Followers of Jesus, you don't need to perform highly to grab attention of Jesus. He knows you and sees you. You are valuable and loved. Jesus, thank you that I don't need to earn your attention. Your love is perfect. So that actually makes me think about status, with the California fires. It says in here, we often jockey for positions of power and authority. It was no different with the disciples. And it's not about your accomplishments or your achievements, your money or lack thereof. That's achieving eternal life, whatnot.
Right.
But look at the fires that are going on in California and the way some people are responding to that and the reality of it.
Right.
The reality of it is the fire knows
Does not
no
know the
achievements.
difference. Right.
They know no status. It knows no wealth. It knows no money. It does not evaluate. And there's people, I've been really devastated by watching it, first of all. It's my home. Tahoe is my home. That's not where the fire is. It's in Southern California. But that's also part of my home. It's still where I come from. I've spent umpteen times in LA.
Right.
I've hung out in those hills. I've done red carpets in that town. I know a lot of the people that are being affected.
Right.
I don't brag about it. I don't name drop
Right.
unless it's relevant.
Right.
But I've reached out to several of my friends there asking if they're okay. One of them, she's a producer. I'm not going to name names, but she texted me back this morning. Thank you for asking. And I know she lives in Beverly Hills, but that doesn't mean she doesn't have close people in Palisades or
Right.
or Malibu. Doesn't mean she hadn't moved to Malibu.
Right.
I have some people I know that have lost their homes there. So it personally affects my mental state thinking about them. And it really bothers me listening to and reading some of the online things from people that, burn, baby, burn. Mm-hmm. They deserve it. I can't wait to see the Hollywood sign on fire. Right. And I'm like, that's disgusting. It's disgusting what I'm reading from people. on our side, this conservative, we love people side. Fuck you. That's disgusting.
Right.
You know, many of them are Christians, and they're like, because there's pedophiles, because they're you know, they're demonic or they're Satanists, and they don't know this. They assume this.
Right.
Because not everybody in Hollywood is a Satanist.
Right.
And not every Satanist is a celebrity.
Right.
Let's clear that part.
Right.
So you have these people that are saying these horrific things. I hope they burn. Then on the left side, James Woods lost his home.
Right.
Mel Gibson lost his home. Those are two that I know of that are conservative. Mel Gibson has never come out like fully for Trump, but I'm sure he voted for Trump. Like he's a Christian. He kind of got blackballed in Hollywood. If he can't front it himself, or he doesn't have people that will do a project with him, he ain't getting any backing from Hollywood. Ever since he did The Passion of the Christ, he pretty much, you know, and they deemed him crazy and all that stuff. Well, he was an alcoholic. He admits that. You know, I wasn't crazy. I was drunk.
Right.
You know, you act like an idiot when you're drunk, but, you know, he's sober and he doesn't drink anymore. Excuse me. So, you know, but the people coming after them, same way. You know, like James Woods did a video, and the comments underneath it is karma, bitch. You know, and I'm thinking to myself,
You're all
you know, you're a disgusting human being.
karma, bitch.
Yeah, you are a disgusting human being.
For everyone,
and I'm sorry.
what goes around comes around.
You're so what I
We're all
typed
watching.
back is, so, you know, he's only that at that point in time, he was only one person that I knew of.
I honestly don't know who James Wood is.
Okay, well, he's been in a lot of movies,
Okay.
but he's a known Trump supporter.
Okay.
But he's you know, he's a well known in the conservative world because he stood up for it and Trump. But at the time, he was the only one that I knew of that was a conservative or Trump supporter that had lost a home.
Right.
So I was like, okay, so you're saying karma to him because he voted for Trump and he speaks out for Trump and the conservative side. So, and you said karma. I said, so all the rest of them that have lost their homes, what's their karma? Because they're all liberals.
Right.
You know, 90% of the people that are in that area are liberals. Or it's probably 85% are blue.
Right.
You know, so, you know, and Mel Gibson, when he talked about it, he was on Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
And he was like, you know, gonna kind of look at this as a reset. It's sad, but I have the means to, you know, rebuild or whatever. And he's like, are you gonna leave California? And he's like, I don't know. I haven't made that decision. But when James Woods was being evacuated from his house, his concern was of his neighbor below him that was 95 years old.
Right.
You know, and
There was a story that came out too. Oh gosh, what's her? The chick in This Is Us and the Walks movie, whatever, I can't remember. Mandy Moore, I think. And she had done a GoFundMe for her brother-in-law who was in a band because they had lost everything and they were about to do have a baby. And people were like, oh my God, you're so ridiculous, blah, blah. You know, they just went after her and she essentially was like, I've had it with all of you. This is ridiculous. And there's a lot of movie stars and actresses that are getting attacked for being like, I'm losing everything. And people are like, you'll make it. You're fine. You're a millionaire. Boo-hoo. You guys, come on.
have some compassion.
Yes.
Like, where is the humanity? And this goes back to these.
Right.
It goes back to these. We have lost our humanity.
Absolutely.
We have lost our social skills.
We have.
We would never, you wouldn't walk up to a woman in a bar and say, show me your tits.
Right.
You'd get slapped in the face and a drink thrown at you.
Right.
But you can do it on this.
Right.
You can do it on this all day long. You know, I get friend requests from strange men I don't know all the time. Every now and then they sneak in where I accept their friend request because I see them. I look at their profile because I try to vet people.
Right.
And because I get a ton of them.
Right.
And it used to be because of the conservative stuff that I was involved in. So I don't really even look at them anymore.
Right.
Very rarely. But like I just answered one because it said that I had multiple friends that were friends with them. And then afterwards I go look at their profile and I'm like, oh, the multiple friends, their entire thing is women. I'm like,
Right.
you're a piece of shit.
Right.
You might have Trump on your thing or whatever, but you're a dirtbag. You're probably a racist and you're probably a sexist and you're whatever. But then they do the, hey, how are you, beautiful? You know, and if you do talk to them, they will very quickly go into, you got any pics or you got, you know, like you're disgusting.
My favorite one, someone, I think it was on like a whatever, probably like a what's going on in the city you live in page, you know, we were doing comments and talking and somebody jumped into my DMs to tell me how wrong I was about my feelings. And then at the end of it said, by the way, how much do you weigh? And I showed it to my husband and he was like, why do people talk to women that way? Like, you know?
Why did they think it's okay to
Right.
talk to? That's the biggest confusion for me.
Yeah.
Is how can they even think
That's
it's
appropriate.
acceptable or appropriate or that, you know,
Right. I think I'm finally getting to an age now where it's decreasing. Where, you know what I mean? Like, people are like, oh, she's older. But it's still there. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my
Yeah.
God. It's just gross. It's so gross.
It's just disgusting.
Yep. But yeah.
And
But yes, back to
and
grieving.
and that is what has caused this is
Oh,
this
absolutely.
disconnection from humanity. We play all these games that are about killing and
Right.
mayhem,
Right.
and then we sit behind this
Computer.
and this,
And that's how we talk to people.
and we talk to people, and we feel compelled, obliged. You know, I got in a debate with some woman about the firefighters, and it ended up in a fucking debate with some dude because he said, who the hell do you think you are? Because I went in and I said, you know, it's easy to fight fire, right?
Right.
From your armchair.
Right.
You know, like, because she was, her post was, you know, the houses are burning. People, you know, people's homes are burning. Where are the firefighters? What is going on? Journalists are picking up hoses. I'm like, bullshit, that's
Right,
happening.
right.
But, you know, like, so I went in and I said, it's easy to fight fire from your armchair, right? And this guy came in and asked, who the fuck do you think you are? And I was like, well, for one, I'm a former firefighter.
Right.
And I'm married to one. And my husband did forest fires.
Right.
My husband was not a city firefighter. I was a volunteer firefighter, to be clear. I was a medic and I was in law enforcement and I volunteered as a firefighter. And I got into it because my EMS instructor was a firefighter. And he's like, you should switch to fire. Like, you're really good at the EMS stuff. You'd be a really good firefighter. So I got on with a volunteer department and started doing my fire stuff. And I honestly did like being a firefighter better than I liked being a police officer. The one cool part about being a firefighter versus a police officer, when you've worked in both areas, is walking into a public building or a public venue, grocery store or whatever,
Yeah.
and someone sees you, they don't hate you.
Right.
when you are a police officer, there's some pretty negative comments that will come at you,
Yeah.
and it's kind of disgusting. But and I'm scrolling on my phone, not because I don't want to be involved in this conversation, but it is because I am looking for this comment. So her post was, firefighters are nowhere in sight while homes burn to the ground in Pacific Palisades per Fox LA at Matt Seedorf. Reporters have even attempted to grab hoses and fight the fires themselves. What the hell is going on? With a picture of said fire. And so I wrote, it is easy to fight fire, right? Question mark. From the comfort of your armchair and keyboard, do you have any idea what safety risks there are for firefighters? Believe me, as a prior one myself, life is the most important thing over property. Evacuating people, animals takes precedence to homes in unsafe circumstances. Fires are fierce and the winds feed it, and when it is not safe to go in, unfortunately, they can't. I know they do everything they can to save lives first and foremost. Property, homes come second, and as much as you may see that as wrong, they can't evacuate or save any people if the firefighters are dead trying to save an empty home.
Right.
And then this guy came back and said, exactly who the hell are you to criticize or judge anyone? There are too many incompetent environmentalists and their ridiculous ideas of not disturbing the overgrown dead foliage that keeps igniting every time there's a storm. There is a place in this country where that does not happen because proper forest management is conducted on a regular basis, but not in California. Oh no, we can't disturb anything in the environment, dead or alive, whether it goes up in cinders or not. People like you and your absolute cluelessness about any of it is why it keeps happening. But it's not happening where I am, and I assure you there is plenty of foliage where I'm at. I'm just not overheated, not ventilated, dead, highly flammable underbrush. And I was like, those are county and state officials making those regulations or laws and ridiculous environment type like Sierra Club morons, making those laws and regulations to exacerbate fires. Firefighters hate this and they have to follow the requirements California puts on them. So yeah, as a former firefighter married to one, I can criticize people blaming firefighters for not saving structures and that being consumed by a dangerous fire. I did not say a single thing about the cause and those responsible for the causes. Those being state and local officials and stupid environmental idiots who don't believe in proper way to manage and maintain our forests in the healthy way. That is a reason that they are the cause and the blame is on them, not firefighters. My husband was directly with Forest Service as a firefighter, and is their biggest complaint. Also, bureaucrats who are lining their pockets with environmental dirtbag money and then let people to suffer to get rich and pretend it's because they care about the white owl who just burned to death and you're rotting with kindling. My post response was about firefighters' lives, not stupid regulations and the idiots who are to blame. So I'll stop reading that for right now. But that is the blame. The blame is on the bureaucrats, the people who have made regulations or allowed people to make regulations. The environmentalist has been an issue in California for decades, where they make these absurd rules and regulations that they can't pick up pine needles. You can't pick them up off the forest ground.
Right.
You can't rake them up. You can't bag them up. You can't burn them. You can't do anything with all the old dead debris because it's habitat. Got to leave that habitat for those that live in there. Well, where's their habitat now? It's all burnt to nothing. It's crazy to see what happens with that. My dad his house did not burn in the Angora fire in California. And that was mainly because everybody knew my dad had jet fuel and a few other things at his house, so they really fought hard. But that fire came all the way through the meadow behind my dad's house, right up to my dad's house, and I ran up and put a actual sprinkler on the roof of my dad's house, and there was cinders that were like this big that were all charred when the fire was over with, because thank God there was water on the roof, because it hit the roof and just killed them. But big tall trees, and he said, you know, he had his raked quite a ways away, but there were some really tall trees, and he got fined for raking that shit up, for moving it. Like, that's the problem. These people who think that that is what saves the white owl or whatever animal that you're trying to save today. The smelt fish, why they move water out and don't have it in the reservoirs is to save the smelt. The smelt fish is an invasive fish. So that's a bunch of bullshit, is what it's all bullshit. And there's no water in the fire hydrants. And then the fire chief, I don't care if she's a lesbian. I don't care. I don't care if she has the skills and she was hired to be, whether or not she is one of those people that was hired for DEI, but maybe she did have the skill set, but she didn't have the common knowledge that, yeah, you may not be the one to fill it, but maybe you should be testing them. Maybe you should be checking them. Have somebody assigned to checking that. I don't know, but you would think as a fire chief, you should know whether or not there's going to be water to fight the fires. And then there's like a video out of some other DEI hire that when they asked her, well, can you carry my husband out of a fire? And she said, well, if I have to carry your husband out, he got himself in a bad position. What the fuck? That's a bad answer, first of all. It should be, yes, I could carry him out. Because I will tell you, I was a female firefighter, and I trained with the guys I worked with. Let me carry you down off of the roof. Let me do this. I did everything to learn with people of how to fight the fires and how to handle picking up somebody or working with them. And I wanted to really be able to do that. And so I trained hard to do that. But this other part of this person's comment was, people today, when they call for medical or fire, they want somebody to show up that looks like them. Mm-hmm. If they're black, they want a black one. If they're gay, they want a gay one. If they're lesbian, they want a lesbian one. If they're transgender, they want... No, they don't. No, they don't. They want someone who can do the job and comes with water.
Right.
That's what we care about. I don't call 911 and go, excuse me, what's your political affiliation? Before you send someone, I need to make sure that they're a Christian. I need to make sure they're conservative. I need to make sure they're gay. Nobody does that. Nobody calls and says, can you please send your gay firefighter? Right. For women, we go, can you send the hot ones?
for gay men, I'm sure
I
really love that story that guy tells about. I'm sure everybody's seen it by now, about the guy that says I'm very, very straight and I've never understood women's appeal to firefighters, but I went and did the rescue scenario, and the guys came in and said, I'm going to take care of you. And I was like, whew. And suddenly I understood it.
Now, granted, 99% of the time, they don't look like that.
Yep. Yeah.
They look more like Elmer Fudd.
I seen a meme on Facebook last night, and it was like, being part of the military is understanding that the guys that can kill you look like this, and it was like a picture of the guy from Leave It to Beaver. I was like, isn't that the truth? But yeah, so going back to grieving, I think that you know, it's really important to recognize that not everybody's grieving is the same, and someone's loss can be different because everybody experiences life differently, and that, you know, like we want the world to be a place where, and this is going to be really hard to explain, and hopefully I can say it correctly, but we want people to live in a world where they don't experience so much pain
Right.
that they are numb to when they lose everything.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you and I have moved around the world so many times that if we lost a box of our favorite things, it's gonna hurt. But we understand it's not the worst thing.
It's not the worst thing in the world.
Right.
Well,
But-
and that is one of the things that Mel Gibson said. It's one of the things James Wood said. It sucks, and this is hard, and
Yes.
it's sad, but it is stuff.
Yes.
You know,
is.
Mel Gibson was talking about the fact that, you know, he lost some rare books
Yeah.
that are one of a kind books, and you know, some of them go back to the 16th century.
Yeah.
Well, only somebody who has that kind of money can afford to buy a book
Right.
from the 16th century that's a one of a kind.
Right.
Okay, I give you that. But it's still something that was his.
Right.
You know, if you look behind me here,
Right.
and only because this is relevant, because I'm not trying to brag or anything.
Right.
But let me put this stuff here. So this is a picture of my dad with his race car.
Yeah.
It's the only one I have that was printed back in that day
Right.
that my dad gave me.
Right.
So that means a lot to me. If that burned up, that I would never. I have the picture on digital,
Yeah.
but I would never have that picture back.
Right.
That's my original picture from boot camp, from
Yep.
Army basic training. That card was given to me by my command sergeant major. I can't replace that.
Yeah.
And then all these things, they may not burn as much, but like these are the cufflinks from George Bush.
Right.
That's the original picture I have of my mom with Air Force One.
Yeah.
Then you go over here and let me turn this way. These Russian dolls that I have and these other dolls are from when I lived in Budapest, Hungary. They're Hungarian dolls. And my somebody put a little wheel on top of somebody
That's
put a
funny.
wheel on top of my Boris Yeltsin.
That's funny.
But these are my Russian dolls that are actually from Russia.
Yeah.
Like they have the stickers on the bottom that say USSR on them.
Yeah. And those are like they are not only from that place, but there's memories attached to them
Yeah.
from when you went there.
And they're irreplaceable.
Absolutely.
You know, so those would mean a lot to me.
Absolutely.
But would I drive on?
Right.
Would I move forward? Sure.
Yes.
I definitely would drive on. I would move forward.
So when I was
My faith would not be burned up.
Right. So when I was in JDC, we had an experience where we were studying World War II, and we were studying Auschwitz and everything. And we had the unique experience to get to meet with some Holocaust survivors. And they took us to speak with one. And one of the things that really struck me and has stayed with me to this day is that he said to all of us, things that you cannot replace are knowledge and experience. So always keep learning and always keep experiencing things, because those are the two things that cannot be taken away from
Right.
you. So I instill that in my children, and I try to remember that, because the rest of it is, the memories are held in those items materialistically, but the rest is in your brain. And
Right.
when you lose those things, when you are stuck in Auschwitz, when you are at your lowest moments, those memories are what's going to pull you through, because you're good. You know, when you're
Well, and objects or material things cannot be replaced, but you have your memories, and you
With
have
that
some
object,
people
yeah.
do, unless you have
Right.
Alzheimer's or something. But then people can't be replaced,
right.
where material possessions can be replaced.
Yes.
You can get a new couch.
Yes.
You can get new classic books.
Yeah.
You can get, they might not be that one, but you can get replacements of a different type.
Absolutely.
And family, people cannot be replaced, but people still die.
Yes.
No matter what. People
Right.
die of natural causes. People die from fires. People
Yeah.
die from accidents. People die from disease.
Yep.
And they can't be replaced.
Right. But on the other end of that too, again, you know, like we want people to have never experienced that.
Right.
You know, we
And
want
that-
people to have never known pain enough that
And
this
you
is
and
this
the
is
and the thing is you can't know joy without knowing pain.
right.
You can't know you know, I it's something
can't
that
appreciate
it's something that I have talked a lot about with people when I hear the things some people say about celebrities and people
Yeah.
that have money, you know, well, in particular, Tori Spelling.
Okay.
I used to hear it from people all the time because my name's Tori.
Right.
So they're like, "Oh, Tori Spelling." You're like Tori Spelling. No, my name's not Tori Spelling. And, you know, oh, well, she always is a complainer and she has all this. I'm like, you have no idea what her life was
Right.
behind that.
That door, that
Door.
pretty glass box.
You know,
Yeah.
I grew up with a lot of money
Right.
and privilege, prestige,
Right.
my family, you know, on both sides. My dad was a race car driver. I hung out in Shirley Muldowney's trailer and met some of the greatest drag racers in the world. And my mom was a diplomat. I've met many celebrities. I've had a really cool life.
Right.
But you don't know what happens behind those closed doors.
Right.
You don't know what it causes them the pain that they've gone through.
Right.
So that's where I have such a difficult time on people judging
Yes.
other people because you do not live their life.
Right.
And when we talked about it the other day, your level of devastation or pain or suffering that you're going through is, if I ask you what level of suffering are you going through, you might say it's a 10 right now.
Right.
Because what you're going through for you is your worst.
Yeah.
It's 1 through 10, 10 being your worst.
Yes.
So your worst is your worst.
Right.
It's not on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the worst person on the planet, the worst suffering they have done. What is yours? Well, we should all say like 1 or 2 or whatever. But you don't assess your pain level, your
Against
devastation
somebody
level,
else.
your suffering level against someone else's. It's what
Absolutely.
you've experienced.
Yep.
So, and at the same time, you can look at joy the same way.
Yep.
What is your joy level on 10 being your best?
Yep.
And I guarantee you 90% of the time, if people were asked those kind of questions, they would probably say joy would always be at their lower end. They'd
Yeah.
probably say 3 or 4, whereas their suffering, they would probably see that as more of an 8, 9, or 10, because we evaluate joy and suffering or devastation, pain
differently.
differently.
And how much you got to think about that too. With that realization, look at those who, like we talked the other day about the cancer patients and how much joy they have every single day, that you just want to punch yourself in the face and be like, what the fuck is wrong with me?
Right.
Because like you take so much for granted, where people who have had so little are so excited about a cup of coffee and so excited, like, you know what I mean?
Right,
So
right.
like maybe a situation like this is what some people need to recognize the joy. You
Well,
know?
and on a political level, I am going to say that maybe, and sadly, I'm not trying to make this political, but it's already been made political, because look at the bureaucrats that made these rules and regulations, and they've regulated themselves out of a populace.
Right.
And people are leaving California in droves, first of all. And this is the first election in however long that it went purple. There was an awful lot of votes for Trump. I think it was like 44% or 46% or something like that in the state, which has basically been unheard of. but it's also because people are sick of people that live in ivory towers making ridiculous regulations, and those that still voted that way, the other direction. This may be a wake-up call that you can stay Democrat, you can stay blue, but stop voting in people who don't care about you, who don't care about the people that they're supposed to be representing.
Right.
Don't vote those people in, and see if the laws can change, see if things can change. So I am going to read some comments here. The Sword says, repeat, Jesus is coming. This is God's holy judgment. You have not seen anything yet. And I wouldn't doubt that this kind of is. I still feel for the people, but in the Bible, it does say he's not coming with water the next time. He's coming with fire. And there are people who have said this is Sodom and Gomorrah burning. I don't want to see anyone suffering. I don't want to see anybody in pain, but there is something to that assessment. You know, can you reset? Can you look at yourself and evaluate where you stand? And this may make some people, because the reality is a lot of people sit in this closed off. I just go through, I'm doing my thing. Like a lot of them are don't even go political. They don't even go religious. They might read their Bible and they might do their thing and they do this and I just don't want to be involved. And they sit back and they don't say anything. They don't do anything because they don't want to, they're not affected. They're not personally affected by things. Oh, I'm so sorry. That's so sad. You know, North Carolina's hurricane. Oh, that's so sad. Oh, that's so. But when you're personally affected, your attitude becomes different. Your attitude changes a bit about it. So you can look at things like the loss of life is horrible, but maybe this will make some of the other people come out of that only about me thing.
Yeah.
And start seeing their neighbors. I was super impressed with the fact that, you know, James Woods, he's a celebrity, has money and
first.
whatever. Yeah. And his first thought was, what about my neighbor down there? He's 95 years old and he has Alzheimer's.
Right.
Like, does anybody know? I think he's in the hospital right now, but he was able to literally call his son.
Right.
Now, the fact that he knows his neighbors.
Right. It's a big deal.
Knows who they are. And that neighbor's down the hill. So I'm sure they talked over the hill. And however long that man's been there, probably decades and decades.
Right.
He probably bought that house back when it was built for, you know, $70,000, $80,000. And now it's probably worth $10 million.
Right.
Who knows? Who knows? We don't know his backstory or any of that. Don't even know who he is. But he knew the guy's son's phone number, called him, said, your dad's in the hospital, right? You know what's going on here? And he's like, no, I don't. And he's like, we're on fire. Everything's on fire here. Your dad's in the hospital, right? No, my dad's at home.
Yeah.
And he has a new caretaker. So he got the fire department a guy that he was talking to at that moment to send somebody to go look. And they evacuated the caretaker, the caregiver, and then they didn't evacuate him at first, but then they sent more people in because they probably had to have a rig to take him out, you know, hospital and stuff. He couldn't walk out. And they did find him. He was in the hospital. He's safe. And that was what James Woods was more worried about, was this guy. And he's like, they've got to find him, find out for sure if he got out. And he sent somebody in there again, and the house was empty. Before an hour later, the house was gone.
Right.
And had nobody checked on him, he'd have burned in the fire. Well, he'd have died of smoke inhalation. Very rarely do people burn in a fire.
Right.
That's the reality is they usually die of smoke inhalation before the fire gets them, unless it comes really fast. But his concern was with someone else.
Right.
That is such a beautiful thing. And it was natural. It's not like he was doing that for a publicity stunt. All this shit's happening all at once that you're not like, how can I make myself look good right now?
Right.
That's not what's happening. So, and not that I agree with these people, but I am going to put their comments on the thing. The California fire is God's judgment on America, and why should anyone feel bad? Did folks in California vote for genocide, Joe? Okay, that's true, but we want to show them compassion.
Right.
God in the Bible does talk about compassion. Be compassionate. Love your neighbor as yourself. Show through God. And then that was Vladimir Putin, which is obviously not Vladimir Putin, but that's their name. The California fire is God's judgment on America. LGBTQ woke abortion. It's clear America is being judged. Well,
Wow.
that's pretty harsh, and that's this type of comments that I see you having your feelings about things, but we should still be compassionate to other people. And I'm not saying that there's not, I think there's some underlying things. God didn't start this fire.
No.
I don't think it was started from natural causes.
Right.
I think it was started from bad planning
Decisions,
on the
bad
government
decisions.
part by not
Right.
clearing things, not maintaining your forest. And I think there's been a lot of videos and a lot of comments from people that have witnessed and seen what looks like people starting the fires. And they look Middle Eastern or whatever. And after the bombing in Vegas, New Orleans, New York, you got to wonder if this is a sleeper cells and it's just the beginning. That is not God's work.
Right.
If it is that type of thing, that is not God's work.
Right.
God does not work through terrorists.
Right.
God does not work through evil people.
Right.
And if it was lightning strikes and it caught on fire, I would maybe give you that this is God's wrath, but that's not how these fires started.
Right.
So I will give you your opinion, and that's what I love about this country is we do have the freedom of speech, and we do have the freedom to feel the way we feel. I just think you need to look within yourself. If you are so godly and you want to preach the Bible and God-fearing and all that, you need to read the other parts about thou shalt not judge lest ye be judged, and the compassion scriptures, and love thy neighbor as thyself. It doesn't say love thy neighbor as thyself as long as they are not.
Right.
That is not how the sentence goes. And then Donna says, excellent advice, your knowledge and experience you can take with you. And that is so true. I feel bad for people that have lost their memories or lost their ability to remember things. My brother suffers from this a lot, from his PTSD and his Marine Corps time. He has very difficulty with memory.
Yeah.
So he does hold on to things for memory purposes. Might I suggest you take photographs of something that's really important to you?
Put it on a cloud.
And I'm thinking about that now. Like,
Yeah.
if my house were to catch fire, what are the things we talked about this the other day? What are things that I would want to take out of here that are irreplaceable?
Yeah.
Well, my $1,000 pictures up there on the wall, I'd want to grab them. Now, I could grab things from down here and chuck them out the door. This whole room down here is brick.
Right.
This whole thing is brick. So realistically, we could chuck shit down the stairs. Most of it would survive down here.
Yeah.
Most of it would survive because everything on the ceiling, you have the rafters and stuff, but there's not a lot of wood in here. So a lot of stuff could survive down here.
Yeah.
So, but you think about those things. It's crazy how you think about those things that are things,
Yeah.
but like, can you take photographs of the most important things to you and just keep them in the cloud so you still, especially if later in life you do have memory issues, well, you can pull up that picture and remember that thing that brings those memories back to you.
Yeah.
And so, this is a good time for people to evaluate their own position and their own things.
And how you're making a difference and what you're doing. I know
Right.
for me personally, when I am at my lowest, I try to do things that
For someone else,
yeah,
even if it's in your own family.
yeah. I found I had a really bad mental health year one year, and what brought me back was working in the soup kitchen at the Salvation Army, and then volunteering at a rescue animal shelter. And I did both of those twice a month. And that I genuinely saw joy and experienced joy more so doing that, and it helped me.
I
more.
get so much more out of giving than I do getting.
Right.
Like, I think it's cool when somebody gets me a gift for Christmas or
Right.
my birthday or something like that. But I get so much more joy out of making something or giving something to
Right.
someone else and helping other people. I get a lot of joy out of helping other
Right.
people. But it's like watching what's unfolding and
Right.
feeling like I can't right now.
Right.
Like I'm not there. Like, I think if I lived in Reno still, I'd already be down there.
Right.
I'd be down there at helping serve food to the firefighters.
See, and that's what I'm thinking is like, just because like you get to see and experience the miracle out of the bad. And that's where it's
That's something
important.
I'm watching right now. All the people coming together.
Yep.
And I guarantee
And that's
you
where you
these
find the
celebrities
hope.
that you're bashing so badly,
Are
they
trying
are
or
going to
looking
all
for-
come together
Yep.
and
And look
help
for
the
hope.
ones that do, because there are not just celebrities in those hills.
Exactly.
Some people just have been there for such a long time that they can afford to live there still.
Yep. Yep.
They may not be able to afford to rebuild though.
Yeah.
So there's probably going to be a lot of these wealthier celebrities, ones not affected as well as those affected, that will probably come together for their neighbors to help them to rebuild or
Right.
relocate or whatever, and get
Yeah.
things back.
Yeah.
Yesterday we watched an awful lot about the fire because, my husband and I both working in that. Now, I pulled this up. I don't know what time exactly this was done at, but the County of Los Angeles started on the 7th. Acres burned is 23,707, containment of 11%. And the other one started the same day. They all started within like about 12 hours of each other. There's a total of like eight fires. I know some are either out or almost
Yeah.
out now. That one is 14,117 acres and it's 15% contained. Now, I don't know what, okay, there's a brand new one. Okay. So, total emergency response, 20,967 responses, 124 fires in California right now. Acres burned, 40,588. The fatalities is incorrect because it is now up to 20 something. And over 12,300 structures are destroyed. I know that there was statements about I don't remember who she was, but anyway, she was speaking at a press conference and she said that for those wanting to get back in to see their homes, we're going to start documenting and putting them on an online database so you can pull up your address and be able to look at the pictures and see what your assessment is. From there, we do not want anybody in. And she said, for Palisades Fire, I want to remind you, we don't want anybody coming in because it is a disaster zone.
Yeah.
She's like, basically, there's nothing left.
Yeah.
She said there is 1% remaining
Yeah.
of the homes and stuff in Palisades. So as of right now, the incident, Los Angeles Palisades fire is 23,713 acres. Containment is 14%. The Eaton fire is 14,117, 33% contained. And the Hertz fire is 799 acres and 95% contained. So it's nice to see that they've gotten some containment. As they get out the Hearst fire, and then all the resources from the Hearst fire can
They
go
can
to
move
the
over.
Eaton fire
Yeah.
and the Palisades fire. And people like David Spade put out a message online saying, if you catch somebody lighting a fire and you get them arrested, I will give you $5,000.
Nice. Good for you.
And there's an awful lot of celebrities that live there or used to live there that are coming out talking about it. Alec Baldwin lives in New York now, but he was talking about it. I know me personally, I cannot tell you how much time I spent going to the Palisades, driving over Malibu.
Yeah.
I was just remembering just not that long ago, 2018, 2019, I went to this vineyard in Malibu and went wine tasting with a girlfriend. And it was a really cute little place. Overpriced and their wine was crap, but
It was fun to look at.
but it was such a beautiful place that they
Yeah.
had. You can look at those. I still have those memories.
Right.
It would be sad to go back there. Now, I was talking earlier about the fire in the Angora fire that was where I'm from in Lake Tahoe. And I went back there later, and I had already known that my childhood home was burnt to the ground. But the concrete underneath was still there, and it still had our names and handprints and stuff that my dad had done when they did the driveway. And my dad even talked about how when he went there to look at it, he was standing there. Two other guys were parked there, and they were looking at the same house. He knew both of them.
Yeah.
Tahoe for locals, it's a very
local.
small community.
Yeah.
And he's like, what the fuck are you doing here? And he's like, oh, this is my house. And he's like, no, it was my house. So my dad was the first guy that owned it. And then he sold it to one of the other guys standing there. And then he sold it to another guy. And none of them were the ones that currently lived in it.
Oh,
or
that's
owned
funny.
It. And they were all previous owners, and they just happened to be there on the same day.
That's funny.
And every time I used to go home to visit my dad, and now my dad's gone. So I go there and just visit Tahoe and the nostalgia and the memories. And I used to always go up and drive by my house.
Right.
And the last time I did was after that was over with and they had rebuilt. I saw it when it was gone and it was burned. And then I saw it when they cleared. And then I saw it when they rebuilt.
Right.
The house that they rebuilt is cool, but it's
Right.
not my house.
It's not yours. There's no
So
attachment to it.
that memory part is gone now. When
Right.
I went there and all the debris was there, and then when I went there and it was cleared, I could still kind of close my eyes and see
Right.
it. But then now it's gone. Well, those are memories I have. Those are things that you can hold on to. Your experiences and the things
Yeah.
you've done. Those are things you can hold on to. And honestly, if you have memory issues, this is a great thing.
Yeah.
Start writing in a journal. Start writing some of your
Yeah.
childhood stories
Yeah.
that if you may get
Or
to
video recording.
or
yeah.
video record it today.
Yeah.
Talk about the things from your past, your childhood,
Yeah.
because those can be ways of, and can be a response to this devastation.
Yeah.
But it can happen to anyone, anywhere.
Yeah.
So it may not be a fire,
Right.
but it could be a tornado.
Right.
We just recently had a tornado here in our downtown. It was an F1, and not huge, but the people
was
it
a
devastated
reminder.
was huge to them.
Right.
So it was an F5 to the people who lost everything.
Right.
So it doesn't matter. Oh, it was just an F1.
Right.
But to the people who lost everything, it was an F5.
Right.
If you, and F being the worst, it's fuel, what it eats, how much it takes.
Right.
And the hurricanes, the people in North Carolina and Georgia and Florida and some Alabamians, but especially in North Carolina that are suffering so bad from the Morton fire and hurricane and the other hurricane, that might as well have been the biggest hurricane in the history of the world to them.
Right.
And they're still suffering. Again, I see that as a lot of bureaucratic crap. Vote these people out. Stop voting people in that don't take care of their people. That's one of the most important things you could say. And then Donna says, very true. You cannot experience joy unless you can feel the pain. Yeah, you have to know what you've experienced, good or bad.
Yeah.
But you don't know wealth if you've never had money.
Yeah.
You don't know poverty if you've never been poor.
Yeah.
So you can't relate to something you've never had or done. You can be compassionate to others that do.
Absolutely.
And just automatically assuming because they're a celebrity or because they live in the Palisades or because they're in California that they don't deserve compassion is not what God talks about.
Right.
God does not tell you not to be compassionate. God doesn't tell you that just demonize people and say, well, you deserve the wrath.
Right.
Now, at the same time, there is a time and a place for the humor parts of things, because in the midst of all of this, during all this assessment and during these things, we also had a court case, if anybody remembers. Oh, that must be your phone.
Oh.
Or it's mine. I
It
don't.
is.
Do you need to answer that?
I do.
Okay, go ahead. Do we get to listen to the phone call?
Hello. Oh my goodness! I still have my. Hey.
But in the midst of all of this, we have the people that are suffering. We need to have compassion for. We need to think about them on a different level. That we do need to have compassion, and we do need to care about other people, because it's not just about you and it's not just about yourself.
Gotta love school.
Yeah,
Lovely.
Of course.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
I didn't answer last week when we were live, and it ended up being that Cadence had like almost passed out in class, so she gave me a lot of crap for that, and I was like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So I was like, crap.
So, so this is a little comedy that I wrote. So I can be compassionate, but I can also be funny.
Yeah.
And so in the midst of all of this fire and brimstone and all this happening, we had a court case with Donald Trump where no matter what, they were going to send him to the gulags, and they insisted on having the trial completion of sentencing.
Yes.
And what it comes down to at the bottom line is the entire thing was for show, to spend an awful lot of money for nothing, because he got nothing, 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 and nothing, and nothing. That tells me unconditional release and blah, blah, blah. Now, I do agree with the Supreme Court's ruling that they did not rule for a stay. His request for a stay was denied. 5 out of 4. And I stand with them. Don't hate me. Don't go after me for that. I stand with them and their decision. And the reason I stand with them is for the same reason that Amy Coney Barrett is assessed at, is you know, the Supreme Court really doesn't like looking at things till they're finalized. Now that it's completely final, now he can actually put an official appeal in, and even Democratic law people have said it's going to get overturned because it's bullshit. The whole thing was bullshit from the beginning. They just wanted to be able to call him a felon. So you know what I do when I'm putting out my feelings. I like to write, and I like to write lyrics, and I like to write music. So I wrote this song about the conviction. So
Okay.
if you will indulge me, I will play it.
Okay. Thirteenth.
So, I don't know why it's still going. Okay. So I had to write that for fun, because that's all they wanted. They just wanted to be able to say, and now the convicted felon is taking his oath of office. The commander in chief, the felon in chief. That's really what it comes down to, is they just wanted that title.
Sure.
And waste of money, waste of resources. Now, this is in New York. But if this were in California, they'd have done the same thing. Mm-hmm. And the amount of money and resources that were used to go after this for that political opponent, to go after things in that manner, the amount of money he has lost, the amount of things that they tried to go after him with lawfare and all the other stuff. Think about where that money could go in the state of New York. Oh, she said they didn't hear. Oh, I don't know. I think I know why. Hold on one second, people. Oh, that's great. So we just watched it and nobody heard a thing. That's because we have to go here. I think it's this one. How do you do that? My husband showed me, but then I forgot how to do it. I will figure it out while I'm here, and then I'll play it again at the very end. But anyway, what they ended up doing is that money could be used for homeless. It could be used for all sorts of other things, but instead we're using it for unnecessary things like this court case. It's absolutely ridiculous of all the things that people use money for when it is unnecessary. And we have resources that are misused and put out to a bunch of other people for no means whatsoever. And these people that are suffering from fires, you've got bureaucrats that are paid way too much money and don't care. And that money could be used for all sorts of other things. Not to mention, there is loss of life now. It's exceeded over 20 people now, and that's not even the assessment of homeless.
Right.
Like, do we even know?
We won't have a way to count that.
No. And well, I mean, there is going to be a way for them to find.
They'll have an estimate.
They're using cadaver dogs,
Yeah.
and they will be able to find remains.
Right.
But they won't necessarily. All of them are not going to be documented. Like
Right.
some people are
They
never
won't have names.
never
and
had
they won't
never
have-
had any documentation. So you're not originally from California. Where are you originally from?
Minnesota.
Minnesota. So you don't have a personal attachment to
Right.
California like I do. And I know there's other people do. Kimberly, she's from California. That's
Right.
her hometown. I mean, she grew up in LA.
Right.
So that's her hometown burning down. That's a huge amount of emotion that goes
Right.
into that part. As an outsider, what do you see and what are you feeling when you're like watching this unfold, not being from there, but still being an American and still being a decent human being?
Yeah, it's similar. We've talked about it. I don't like the accusations. I have sadness for what everybody's experiencing right now. The panic and the frustration and the anger that you are feeling, I do understand. I felt that during the George Floyd protests and the burning of Minneapolis, because that was my town, and the concern. And I can say I still have a little bit of PTSD. And I was here in Huntsville at that time and watching all of that go down and being afraid for my family and being afraid for my friends and going back now and seeing the way the city is and the general vibe of it and knowing that it's just not home, it's very discombobulating. It leaves you feeling disrupted. It leaves you feeling like you just don't know where you are or unsettled, because nothing ever feels the same after an event like that. Like you're not home anymore. It takes a lot to rebuild, but having experienced that from that perspective, and then going back into it afterwards and seeing the changes and feeling the vibe of it all, it did not feel, it still doesn't feel right. It's just lost. So I definitely understand a lot of all of that. I don't understand it to the mass destruction that is currently happening. And that is horrific. So I do have some sadness for that. I hope that something can be done and whatever is built back is more peaceful, because it's, not destructed in a such an angry way, but it is still done by fire, so there is no other. I wish I could take all of that statement back. That was just not stupid.
No,
Like,
because you have to evaluate it on something that you can relate to.
Yeah.
You know, you can relate to something, so you can relate to that. I see it as, you know, bringing in that wasn't what this topic was about, but it was about the misuse of money.
Yeah.
It was, you know, it still happened in the midst of that. In the midst of that, they didn't say, "Hey, wait a minute.
Right.
Let's reschedule this sentencing to another time because we have a lot going on in the country. California's burning. Maybe we need to have resources here for people that are from California. A lot of people in California, especially celebrity-wise, might fly back and forth to New York. So let's open some places up for people that are displaced in California that can come to New York. Let's not do this right now. Maybe that's not where our focus needs to be, but yet that's where they needed to make sure that they could stamp that, you know, on there. And the resources that they used in that it is in the millions that could have been used for homeless people. That could have been used for housing, that could have been used for something else. And I will say, there's somebody out there that did a video, and I am going to say I do agree with him. And I don't remember who it was, so I'm not going to say, but he said, Adam Carolla. He said, you know, they don't want us calling them homeless anymore.
Unhoused.
And he's like, you know, they talk about the housing. We need to build houses because it's a housing crisis. And he's like, no, it's not. It's a homeless crisis.
Right.
They are homeless. They are not unhoused.
Right.
Because most of them are addicts, mental health issues, and they don't want to live in a house. Mm-hmm. They choose to live on the streets. They choose to be homeless. They want to. And there are people, I'm sure, that don't want that. I'm sure there are. But probably maybe 1 out of 10 is or 9 out of 10 are choosing that lifestyle. Or
so, having worked with this population, like I said, I volunteered at the Salvation Army, but I also worked with the resource center that worked directly with them, and I also worked in a mental health population. Yes, a lot of them are there because of mental health. Yes, a lot of them are there because of addiction. But there are also people there that come out of, like, say, for example, prison.
Yeah.
And they walk out of the prison cell.
Here's your $20.
And there's no ID.
Yep.
They have the clothes on their back.
Here's $50. Go to Reno.
Right. And there's nothing else. There's no resources. They don't have their ID. They don't have their social security card. They don't have anyone to pick them up. They have nothing.
Right.
And they're like, what do I do? How do I get a job? I don't have anything to get.
Well, that is where I'm saying there is, like, there
Right.
not everyone
Right.
wants to be there.
Right.
But
And then
there is
also
a higher
from that,
population
right.
of them that
and then
don't
also
care.
from that, having lived the life that I have lived, I also have to come to, we talked about this earlier, the compassionate side of myself. I have to recognize that I have always been one yes or one no from being
away from being in that position
or any other position.
I was homeless
Right.
twice in my life. Now I was in a shelter
Right.
for women, domestic violence women, with my kids. And then Steve and I
Right.
lived in a tent in a
In your-
family member's backyard.
Right.
So in all accounts, we were homeless at the time.
Right.
We lived there for 4 months while we got our RV and stuff like that. And then we lived in our RV for like 4 years.
Right.
But that was a choice.
Right.
That was a decision that we made to save
save
money
up.
to
Yeah.
get to some other point. So yes, not everybody chooses to be in that lifestyle,
Right.
but at the same
once
time,
you get there, it's so hard to get
out.
back. It's such a freaking pile.
and-
Because, say, for example, you get to a hotel. Well, how do you stay in that? So how do you stay in that hotel
And
and,
not
then
everybody
save up to
has
get
the
to an
financial
apartment? And how do you,
means.
right? Or the people or the
Yeah.
family members that can help them.
Like for our situation, had we had to stay in a hotel or something like that,
You know-
well, we wouldn't have. We would have taken the money we had and we would have gotten
Right.
into an apartment or something like that. But if we didn't have the family member to stay with and say we had to stay in
Right.
a motel until we could get into a house or whatever, that would have ate up a huge chunk of money, and you don't have necessarily unlimited resources.
Right. Now, there's a woman that I worked with while I was at the resource center. She worked at Walmart. She was older. She had a stroke while she was at work. And then she went to the hospital. From the hospital, she went into like a rehab, like a, what do you call it?
A rehabilitation.
And
live-in.
while she was in like a nursing home rehab center, there
Yeah.
was the word I was looking for. While she was there, her contract for her apartment came up. She wasn't there to sign it. She lost everything. They took everything from her home, threw it in the dumpster. She couldn't sign her contract, so she lost her home. So she came out of rehab.
And she obviously had nobody, no family or friends that could go
Exactly.
advocate for her and say, hey, she's in the hospital.
Right.
You know, I mean, we often take for granted somebody
What we
not
do
showing
and
up
don't.
to something is that they just didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
Whereas it could be they were in a car accident. It could be
Yeah.
that they had a medical emergency, and could be that they're dead.
Yeah.
You know, you know, and we have a nonprofit for veterans.
Yeah.
And when we started, our goal, our plan
Yeah.
was to start a ranch and build a place for veterans to come and live, homeless
Yeah.
vets that could come and live and build a community and that. And I will tell you the reason that we gave up on that is because, and not gave up, but we reevaluated and we're doing something different. But I gave out at least 5,000 cards to people in the Reno area.
Yeah.
And other places, because if I was traveling, I would give them out to people. And we were willing to help anyone from anywhere that's a veteran.
Right.
And a lot of homeless vets that I gave cards to here. This is our nonprofit. We did have an application for help.
Right.
And out of the thousands and thousands of cards I gave out, only one person actually called and wanted help.
Right.
I got calls from many of them. Can you give me $20? I want money.
Right.
I want this. But I only got one who actually called wanting help.
Right.
And he said, I'm homeless. I want out of this. I want to get a job. I have an interview.
Right.
But I need
shoes, I need help
something
getting
to
my
wear
ID,
to
I need
that.
blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Right.
So I said, okay, I'll be there at meet at the specific place tomorrow at 12:00.
Right.
I went there. I picked him up, and I took him to I think 3 different thrift stores. And of course, everywhere I took him, I told them what I was doing and why we were there. And almost every place I went said no charge
Right.
for whatever I was doing. And I got him like way more than just an outfit for
Right. Got him
the
what
interview.
he needed.
Got
for the
him
rest.
clothes for if you get the job, you
It'd be
need jeans, you
amazing
need
what
boots,
clean
you need
underwear and
stuff
socks does for a
to
person.
do.
Yes.
And other things as well, hygiene materials.
Yeah.
I took him to a truck stop and got him a shower.
Good.
And then I took him to a hair salon and had not a makeover.
Right.
Yeah, but sort of a makeover.
Right.
You know, they trimmed his beard up. And he had already had a shower, but she rewashed his hair just to give him that feeling.
Right.
And again, everywhere I went, when I told them what I was doing, it was
They
free of
pitched
charge.
in.
No
Absolutely.
charge. This is amazing what
Absolutely.
you're doing. And then I wrote him a letter of recommendation, and I told him, be honest with them. Tell them
Right.
what your circumstances and that you will put everything into this job because you want this so badly.
Right.
And I did get a call from them that said, did you really actually do all this to help this guy have his interview? And I said, yeah. I said, I find him to be very credible.
Right.
I spent 3 days with him, helping him get all ready. I put him up in a motel for 2 weeks with money that we had gained from donations and whatnot. And I said he was sober every time I saw him.
Yeah.
And I only saw him the first 3 days immediately. I saw him after that.
Right.
But every day that I helped him with this process, because we didn't do it all in one day.
Right.
It was a lot for
Absolutely.
him. So
Right.
we did a little bit each day.
Yep, and that is the key.
Leading
and that is
up
why
to his
people
interview.
don't typically do.
Yeah.
Honestly, and
Because
with my work that I
they
had
burn
done
out
in
real
the
quick.
past,
Oh, this was fun today.
Yeah,
I don't want to do this
tugga-tugga
again
and
tomorrow.
then drop, and you
Yeah.
have to do it in small pieces. And they tend, in my experience, not everybody's like this, but in my experience, they've heard they can't for so long that they choose not to even try.
Well,
So-
and they also get the evaluations from people when somebody judges them,
Right.
and the looks or the comments or whatever it is, it's very quick and easy for somebody to start judging this
Absolutely.
person for oh, you're dirty.
Right.
Like, why are you in here?
You don't
Those
deserve
are
it.
things
You don't
people need to
deserve-
be careful of with the
Right.
compassion side, is also try not to judge.
Right.
And if you see people looking at them cross-eyed, I did. We went into places where I got the side look
Right.
like this at him, and I walked up to him and I said, you're probably one step away from being right where he is.
Right.
So maybe you can check your judgment.
One of the
And they were
things
like,
that-
holy shit, because
Right.
I'm that person that will walk
Right.
up to you and check you.
Right. One of the things that I do with my youngest is when I see her staring because maybe someone's in a wheelchair or someone is a little bit different, I will ask her, what do you see in that person that is beautiful?
Yeah, that's a great way to deal with it with adults
I
as
will-
well.
Yes, exactly. And ask her if she can compliment them. And she gets so excited about the idea and she'll be like, hey, can I be your friend? And she gets super excited and then I have to pull her back.
Wait, hold on. Well, like with my mom is sight impaired.
Yeah.
So when we go into a restaurant or we go into some place, my mom will hold on to my shoulder, or she holds
Yeah.
on to my arm or my husband's arm to
Yeah.
walk through a place. And I kid you not, I get so irritated with it, and I don't say anything because I don't want to. She's sight impaired, so she probably doesn't see it. I do,
Right.
And they don't just stare; they follow,
Right. And the looks and the.
like, and they
right.
you know, and because she's hunched over a little bit and
Sure.
she's walking slowly and she's old, and I'm like, why are. I mean, I thought we were in the state of hospitality,
helpers, people.
and
Raise
it's like,
frickin'
you know,
helpers.
you know, why are you staring?
Right.
Like,
right.
do I owe you money?
Right.
You know,
Yep.
yes, I'm fat. Okay, I don't need you to stare at me because, but those are the things I want to.
Right. Absolutely.
I just want to walk up to them and give them a
It
quick
raises
jab to their
feelings.
nose.
It,
You know,
it
it
brings
does.
feelings.
It does. So stop staring at people if
Yeah.
they're different, or
Yeah.
if you know, and
Put yourself in
I
their
mean,
shoes and how you're making them feel.
and of
right
course,
this second.
set yourself back.
Yeah.
Step back into their shoes. Maybe they're staring because they're like, "Isn't that sweet?
Right.
Daughter is helping mom,"
Right.
and maybe that's
Maybe
why
they need
they're
to
staring.
say that.
So you kind of have to evaluate it from
Right.
both sides. So anyway, this guy, when the employer called
Yeah.
and said, we really appreciate that you did this. And
Yeah.
did you do this, first of all? Is this true?
Right.
Because he did say, I'm homeless.
Right.
I really want this job. I want
want
out
to
of
do
this
this work."
situation.
Yeah.
And here's the letter of
he's-
recommendation from
might
this
have been the best
organization that
worker.
helped
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
And so they called and they said, we're giving him the job, but we're really concerned about him being homeless
Okay.
and maintaining this job. So is there any way you could help work with us to get him into a more permanent living situation, temporary, whatever, that could be more long term?
Yeah.
And I said, let me pull some resources. Let me see what I can do. So I found and I got other police officers, veterans, VFW. I got a whole bunch of other people to donate and put money in, and we got him. We couldn't get him into an apartment at that time,
Right.
Because again, he didn't have a job,
Right.
So we could pay the deposits, but
Isn't it-
without a
and
job,
it's
they're
that
not going to give
circle, and
him the
it's
apartment.
So frustrating.
So we got him a motel
Yeah.
for 6 months,
Nice.
and his new employer matched it.
Nice.
I got enough money to pay for 3 months. They matched it with 3 months.
Good.
And then at the end of the 6 months,
He had enough to get
We-
an apartment.
he had been saving the whole time because we paid in advance. So he didn't have
Yeah.
to pay a dime for his place to live for 6
Good.
months. And he could put all the money aside, and he worked with us to help him get into a place.
Good.
Because sometimes it does help having an organization. So
Yeah.
we got him into a place where he could, an apartment where he could
Yeah.
actually rent. And so we also helped him move. And obviously in that time frame, all he really had was some clothes and some things.
Yeah.
And we got him furniture. We got him moved into the place, and we had a whole crowd of people there. It was really fun.
Yeah.
And the police department and fire, and we had a whole bunch of first responders there.
Yeah.
And when we got him into his apartment, he wanted to pay the deposits. He wanted to get the
Yeah.
apartment for himself. So the landlord is standing there, and he now has all his IDs and all his
Yep.
stuff. He's got
He's got
everything
everything
back
done.
in the
He's
6
good.
months
And
he was
he's
in the
human
motel.
again.
And he was doing great at his
Yep.
job. So his employer also matched money.
Nice.
And when he got the keys, and we're all there, like this whole group of people are
Blubbering
there,
frickin'
blubbering idiots. And he's getting the keys, and the landlord says, "Just so you know, here's your keys to your new apartment. You paid your deposit. You paid your first and last, or whatever it was. You got all your utilities hooked on, and just so you know, you have no rent for 6 months."
Oh, jeez.
Because we matched all of their match, and we want you to save up so you have more,
So, you're
so
not
you
homeless.
don't get back where you started.
Yeah.
And then the last thing that we did is I said, "There's one more thing. You know, we furnished it all for you." And he walks through with a group of us,
Yeah.
and he's crying.
Right.
And he was, I'm not going to name him. I'm
Right.
not going to say, but he was a really badass guy in the military.
Right.
He deserved everything we did for him. And then when we're on our way out the door, and we did not do a live stream, we did not do a video
Right.
and put it out on social media. Respect for people sometimes is important. We have the story of what we did. I
Right.
don't need the video embarrassing the guy.
Right.
You know, but then we came out and we're like all huggies, and there was people that brought snacks, and there was
Right.
like tables set up outside with snacks and cookies and juice
Right.
and all sorts of stuff. And I said, "But there's one more thing." And I said, "Can you take my keys and go get something out of the car over there?" And he ran over and opened the door, and I said, "No, it's in the driver's seat. You have to get in the driver's seat." And it's right there in the center console. And I said, "It's just a little card thing." And
It was
I said, "But I need it for you." And he gets in, and he's sitting there, and the car, he pulls it out, and he looks over, and he's like, and he just starts crying. And he's like, "No, this is too much. Like, you guys have done so we bought him the car.
Right.
And all the card said is, "Those keys belong to you, and this is your car."
Right.
And he's like, "No, I can't. You guys have done so much for me."
Right.
And I said, "You know what? Out of all the cards I gave out to veterans
Right.
to help them,
This is my favorite.
and you are the only one who actually followed through with actual
Right,
help, not just
everything that
give me
needed.
something."
Right. What do I need to do?
So you
Yep.
earned everything that we've done for you.
Yeah.
And this was, remember, this was after 6 months of keeping that job,
Yep.
staying in that motel we already paid
Yep.
for, and maintaining
Yeah.
and staying in communication with me. He started volunteering with my organization. He
Yeah.
started doing some others. So yes, there was a need for him to. He earned that.
did.
We
He
didn't
worked
just
with you.
walk up and say, "Here's a car.
Right.
Here's an
Right.
apartment." We didn't
He
just
was
hand
working
him
with you
everything.
on
He
it.
did
Yep.
work for
Absolutely.
it, and he earned it, and he deserved it.
Yeah.
So, if we could evaluate ourselves, we're 15 minutes over.
Yeah.
But if we could evaluate ourselves and take into account things that we do on a daily basis of not judging, having compassion for one another,
Yeah.
even in the worst of circumstances, even when people might be not what you think is godly, not what
Right.
you think is good, but remember,
It's not our time to judge who gets what for karma.
remember
We get our karma.
on the mount, on the cross, Jesus forgave the murderer next to him.
Yeah.
He gave him grace, and he forgave him and made him allowed to go to the kingdom of God.
Yeah.
So we have to take what Jesus did and what Jesus said, and he went into the worst places
Yes.
and gave the most compassion. So we need to walk in his footsteps and remember we can go into the worst places and give the most compassion.
Yes.
And people are redeemable. People are, that's why he died on the cross for our to save us from our own sins and our own problems. And people are redeemable. And we
And
need
you
to,
are lovable.
and you are lovable. And we have to have compassion
Yes.
for our neighbors, for ourselves. We have to carry that compassion with us, because maybe it's that one act of compassion and love of your fellow man that is not godly, that is broken, that is evil, that is in those senses, that might see all those things and come to Christ through you, through your light. And that's what we're supposed to be doing. I think about Russell Brand. Russell Brand is a British actor. He's was completely nuts, and drugs, alcohol, recovering addict, sex addict, out sex addict, did a lot of crazy shit, totally mistreated women. And there's a lot of women in Hollywood that are fine with that. They might not be leader, but they do things that to try to get fame and fortune themselves. They put themselves in positions hoping that guy can get me here.
Right.
And he kind of dabbled in different religions and Buddhism, and he didn't believe in Christianity, and he was totally anti-Trump. He was totally against MAGA. Then the COVID thing happened, and I've watched his transition because I liked him anyway before that. But I've watched his entire transformation, and he is now a born-again Christian.
Okay.
And he talks about it. He's like, Jesus, and this is what we need God to say, hey, I can be compassionate. You can be compassionate. I think about his transition to Christ was through watching other people, yes, in the MAGA movement, but there's some really bad people in that movement too that think fire and brimstone is their judgment. They get to do the fire and brimstone. No, you don't. You're not
Right.
the judge and jury. Thou shalt not judge lest ye be judged.
Right.
Treat your neighbor as yourself, no matter what their position is. And, people suffering from these fires and people suffering in New York from the different things that have happened there and in North Carolina. And yeah, it starts to look like the end is near. Like maybe you should start checking yourself then. If you are saying God is talking and the end is near, well, then maybe you should stop judging so many people and start looking back in the mirror and judge yourself and see if you are treating people with the compassion and the love that Jesus showed to even the murderer on the cross.
Yeah.
And if we could do that, and with that, I am going to play my song again because it didn't play and I don't want to do it on another show. So I'm going to play it and hopefully you can hear it. Give me 1 second. I'm going to turn my volume up just so I can see if it actually plays, if you can hear it. I think I changed my my thing, so it should play now. So hopefully it does. We will see. But we need to live our lives with compassion and remember that not everybody is in the same position as you are. Not everybody has the same means as you do. Not everybody is bad. Not everybody's good.
Yeah.
But we need to have that compassion for each other and other people.
Yes.
So I'm going to play this and then we're going to pray ourselves out of here. And can you hear it?
Just
I
because
can.
we
Can you?
dislike you.
So-
Now egg is on your face. We love him and nobody cared. He is now your boss and your commander in chief. Your eviction notice is issued. Bye bye. We are demons, we know. We hate you and despise you. We thought we could win. We didn't know they loved you or that they could see through our lies. Now egg is on your face. We love him and nobody cared. He is now your boss and your commander in chief. Your eviction notice is issued. Bye bye. We tried everything, lawfare and bullets, rumors and lies. But why
This is the
it
wrong
not
version.
working? Why didn't they care?
Oh no.
Because we saw through you and know you. Now we can
There it is.
say convicted. We faked it. We lied.
I wrote
just
the song,
because we
but-
dislike you.
Yeah.
Now egg is on your face. We love him and nobody cared. He is now your boss and your commander in chief. Your eviction notice is issued. Bye bye. We are demons, we know. We hate you and despise you. We thought we could win. We didn't know they loved you or that they could see through our lies. Now egg is on your face. We love him and nobody cared. He is now your boss and your commander in chief. Your eviction notice is issued. Bye bye. We tried everything, lawfare and bullets, rumors and lies. But why is it not working? Why didn't they care? Because we saw through you and know you love power and greed. He is free and you wasted our time. Now egg is on your face. We love him and nobody cared. He is now your boss, your commander in chief. Your eviction notice is issued. Bye bye. What can we do? He takes office in 10 days. We must stand the course, but nothing has worked, nothing has held, but at least we can call you a convicted felon. Now egg is on your face. We love him and nobody cared. He is now your boss and your commander in chief. Your eviction notice is issued. Now it's bye bye. A big fat bye bye. It's a big fat bye bye. Oh, and by the way, the convicted felon says bye bye. Bye bye.
There you go.
There we go. You did it. Good job.
Oh, stop playing now. I hate when it does that, and I should know it's going to, because I have it in the list. So obviously when I write these, I write the music or I write
Right.
the lyrics and then I use an AI to make the music.
Yeah.
So I have to do it over and over and over and over until I get
Something
the
you
sound
like.
I actually want.
Yeah.
And it's doing it the way I want. Now, today, because in light of the fires, I did not do our silly quote at the beginning because it's usually something sarcastic. So I didn't want to do sarcasm with this particular show because this is important that we keep things in compassion.
Yeah.
Let's stay compassionate. Jesus called a little child to him and put the child among them. Then he said, I tell you the truth, unless you turn from your sins and become like little children, you will never get into the kingdom of heaven. So anyone who becomes as humble as this little child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. Matthew 18:2-4, NLT version. And when we think about it from that side, children can be the most compassionate.
Absolutely.
And I don't mean young preteens and teenagers. They can become very cruel. But
Yes.
children
Yes.
are the most compassionate. Children
100%.
are the kindest. Children will go and lead that little old lady by the hand.
Yeah.
Children will say, why do they not have a leg, mommy?
Yeah.
You know, what happened to them? I feel so bad. And children from a child's innocent eyes, if we can treat people with the compassion and love that comes from an innocent child's mind, then we might be able to see what we're talking about for other people.
Yes.
And when it comes to these fires and these devastating events that are happening, instead of judging from the point of view of the Bible thumping Christian, the atheist, whatever, the horrible person that you are or I am, or the sinner that we are, maybe if we look at them from the compassion of a child,
Yes.
we would look at them and say, wow, they just lost their everything. They just lost
Yeah.
their home. They just lost everything they've ever known. Maybe they've collected it all their lives. Even a celebrity that may have won Academy Awards and all these, those are in that home.
Yeah.
They're now gone. Can they be replaced? I don't know. But it's still something that was theirs, and put yourself in their position. Take out the celebrity part of it. Take that out of the
Exactly.
vocabulary and just look at them as a human being that just
How
went through a very
insecure
devastating
and unstable they are feeling right now.
even
and
though they
how-
might be not living on the street tonight, they might be
Right.
staying in a bed at a friend's house, or
Or
they
a
can afford a
hotel or
hotel or
whatever.
whatever.
Yeah.
But they still have to go look back at everything they own is gone,
Yeah.
and everything they've ever had is gone. And some of them came from very poor means.
Yes.
And they
And now
worked
they
up
have
to
to
where they are,
rebuild.
and they have to rebuild.
And that isn't always possible. Not to that level.
Exactly. So you need to
And think
continue.
about how many times you've had to rebuild yourself.
Right.
Do you have this? I know for me personally, if I had to rebuild right now, I don't know that I could rebuild with the same strength and like courage and
I couldn't go through what I did in the
excitement
past.
that I had. Like I just don't have what's the word, the like whatever.
I don't have
you
the
know?
drive.
There-
I don't have the drive.
The
I don't have.
Yes, like
I also
it's
don't have the
exhausting.
I also don't have the physical capability anymore.
You know,
Because
So
I'm
there's
not
so
in the
many
same
things
place
to
that I was
consider.
when I lived in that tent.
Yes. Yeah.
I was fully able-bodied.
yeah.
I helped put it up.
Yeah.
I helped do all the work.
Right.
I couldn't do that today.
Right.
There's a
So
lot of
there's
things.
so many things to consider. So just
Yeah.
stop being a dick.
Yeah, that technically that one would be a good one here. That's we read off the other day.
Don't be a dick.
The key to life is simple. Just don't be an asshole.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a good one for today's show
Yeah.
too. So babies are cute and cuddly, but once you have one of your own, you begin to realize how much hard work they are. They rely on others for their every need: food, clothing, shelter, changing. They are helpless on their own. This is the word picture Jesus uses to describe the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. Encouraging, huh? But what if the picture that Jesus was painting was one of grace? What if he was reminding us that it isn't about what we have to offer him that makes us great, but that it's all about our ability to recognize our complete dependence on him. Jesus is reminding us that this is his work in us that brings us greatness in the kingdom. Jesus, thank you for the grace that you show me in my life. May I live my life in total dependence on you. And in what way are you trying to earn God's attention on your own ability? So with that, I am going to answer that for myself is with compassion, loving somebody else. And, you know, I want to put a shout out to my husband. I didn't bring this part up, but it's the very end of this show, and it is the one thing I'm going to say. At one point in time yesterday, because we were doing a lot of talking about the fires, and we had a lot of videos watching regarding the fires, and my husband and I both volunteer with TR, Team Rubicon, as the disaster relief organization. And at some point, I realized my husband had been out of the room for quite some time and hadn't come back. So I didn't know if he was in doing laundry or doing something else. And I walked in and he was sitting in our sitting room on the couch by himself. And I said, "Are you okay? What's going on?" He's like, "No, I'm not okay. I'm having a really hard time right now because I feel like I should be there." And I said, "Are you talking about the fires in California?" And he's like, "Yeah." So as a firefighter, as a first responder, as a disaster relief volunteer, and he's a sawyer, he's a route clearance guy. You know, he's a sawyer from forest. You know, he's certified to cut down trees and to do the clearing and do the things that they're doing to try to fight these fires. And he was having a really hard time because he felt like he should be there. Like, I should be there helping. I should be a part of this. He's not from California. He's from Wisconsin, but he spent an awful lot of time living in Southern California with the Marine Corps when he was in the Marines, and then fighting fires in Northern California. Most of his firefighting was in Northern California. But he immediately went to feeling that he wasn't giving his all because he should be out there. He should grab, and literally we own an ambulance.
Right.
We have gear, we have equipment, we have, he's got saws, and he's like, I could load up the truck with all of our equipment and I could go out there and I could help. And I said, but you can't.
Yep.
You can't because it's 3,000 miles away. They don't want just random old firefighters just showing up with their own gear. Now they have to worry about you. And what department are you with? Who are, you're not going to, you
just can't do that.
You
That's
just can't do
respectful of them.
Yeah. Yep. If you're assigned to it with TR and we have the ability for you to take time off work to go, by all means, I'm going to support that. But we have obligations that we have to do. And my mom is here and things happen. And unfortunately, and I do believe very much so that if we still lived out in Reno, we'd probably, and we had the ambulance and all of these equipment and stuff that we do have, we both probably would have jumped in it
and tried to help in some way.
Gone out there.
Yep.
We probably would have, because we could sleep in it.
Yeah.
We could volunteer. I could feed people food out of it.
Right.
There is stuff that we could do, but it's a matter of, 380 miles from Reno versus 3,000.
Right.
So, also don't make yourself a burden by jumping out in the middle of this stuff. Remember, they're still fighting these fires. So don't go out there trying to trying to get pictures, trying to, be a part of it because you want to get your 30 seconds of your video.
Shit.
Don't do that shit. Have compassion for the firefighters. Have compassion for some of them have been working nonstop because, like we saw in 9/11, they won't quit
until
the job is done. So some of them are going to be. They have a certain amount where they do a mandatory. You have to go and take a rest. But they need food. They need support. They need places to shower. They need places to stay. I know they are set up at certain areas. So, just have compassion for fellow man that's going through all this. That's all I can say to people is try to remember that if no matter how godly you think you are, if you were put in this position, would you even want the unholiest and ungodliest of them to come and help you out of the rubble? That's all I can say. Anyway, that's our show. I know we went over today, but God bless you. God bless those firefighters and first responders that are out there. Please be with them.
Happy Monday.
Keep them safe. Happy Monday.
Have a great week.
And have a great week. And we will see you again tomorrow, 10 to 11:30, Monday through Friday.
In
Girl
theory.
Talks. Yeah, in theory. I mean, we did go over today.
Every day.
But this one was really important. Every day
was.
we kind of do, but we've been getting better and better about it.
No,
But
we don't. We
yeah.
talk over every day. But it's
Yeah,
important.
But we have gotten better about being only 2 to 5
Yeah,
minutes over,
yeah.
not a
Not
half
30
hour.
minutes. Yeah.
But this
That's
was an
okay.
important show today,
Yeah.
so
We'll let it happen.
just remember to be compassionate. And
Yes.
don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, and go to our YouTube channel. And all of our socials and our YouTube channel is Girl Talks, GURLTAUX. And again, we're going to talks about it. So we'll see you again tomorrow, 10 to 11:30 ish.
Yeah.
Bye. See you later. Have a good day.